Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Too Fast, Too Furious, starring Paul Walker, Tyrese Gibson, Ludacris, Cole Hauser, and Eva Mendes, directed by John Singleton. Now, I do remember going to movie theaters for this, but not opening weekend though. And why was that? Because there was no Vin Diesel. Well, part of it. But let's see how this movie really goes. Let's get into it. We start off at a street race with Tej, played by Ludacris, leading the race, and in the race is Suki, Slapjack, and Orange Julius. And as they're on a main street, they're a man short, Tej gets a fourth racer, and that person happens to be Brian O'Connor, returned by Paul Walker. As this time there's no Vin Diesel to return because he didn't want to do sequels at the time. But Brian is back with his car, which lights up blue, which I love the color on the lights. And the street race begins, and this is a movie without a brain in its head. As Brian and Slapjack battle for the first place, while Suki passes Orange Julius, and Orange Julius and Brian ends up winning the race by pushing the boost button during an open bridge. And Slapjack gets crashed as Suki makes it on the bridge, and Orange Julius and Slapjack lose the race like crazy. And Brian flirts with the girl when the cops come by to pick up Brian and not put him in prison, but to help the cops out on a mission with Brian, who doesn't work for the cops anymore after what he did with the Dominic Toretto case at the end of the Fast and the Furious. And the new job is spying on Carter Verone, played by Cole Hauser, as Brian gets to handpick the person who drives with Brian, as it's not another cop, but Roman Pierce, played by Tyrese Gibson, as they grew up together. And I don't really like the idea of making the sequel without Vin Diesel involved, and these characters will do better in future movies, but here, Brian and Roman have no chemistry as they're fighting like cats and dogs. It's ridiculous how these guys end up working together, as this is not John Singleton's best work, as I've seen a few of his stuff. When we get to the PD, we meet Monica Fuentes, I don't know if I'm saying that right, please forgive me, played by Eva Mendes. And yet she gives Roman some crap about the convertible, and Roman is here to be picked on by everyone in this series, as we'll see more of later on in the series. And Roman bugged the crap out of me in this movie right off the bat, and I don't like Brian as much as last time with him and Vin Diesel together last time, as they had better chemistry than him and Tyrese Gibson. Brian and Roman and other criminals hired to work for Carter as they drive recklessly in the middle of the freeway. At one point, someone in the red car gets squished by a truck, and one car crashes on the entrance of the street, where they find a car to find an envelope as they escape from the cops, with Roman shooting at the cops, which has got to be the stupidest thing one of our protagonists would do in a Fast and the Furious movie. As they get back to Carter's mansion, Carter tells them their job and mission, and Roman gets caught stealing a cutter from Carter, and this is very bad writing. And as these actors are not acting very well together, as they look like they hate each other to death, as they're good friends in real life before Paul Walker died, may he rest in peace. But I'm more referring to in this movie. Roman gets a car on fire as they are followed by a couple of cops, as the main Fed guy tries to beat up on Roman as they're blowing their cover. And he brings up what happened at the end of the last movie. And I thought, I get it. Okay, I get it. We don't need to bring it up again and again. Brian and Rowan race a couple of cars against a couple of guys as a tag team. And the first person winning the second round wins the race. And who does it turn out to be? Brian and Roman, as Roman doesn't win at first, but Brian catches them up. It makes the other tag team walk home, which was a dumb scene. This is a dumb movie with what I said earlier in the show, that doesn't have anything to do, that doesn't have a brain in its damn head, which makes me really crazy. Brian and Roman go to Carter's club, and Eva Mendes played cops 3 times the year this movie came out, as this one is the first attempt. The second is the sequel to El Mariachi called Once Upon a Time in Mexico, and the third was Denzel Washington's forgettable film Out of Time in the year 2003, with an exception of Once Upon a Time in Mexico. She had a bad year. It was a bad year for Eva Mendes as a cop, as this is bad and one was good, and the last one is predictable and forgettable. Guess which one is the bad one? That would be this movie. And the club scenes are horrible, as Carter tortures a cop with the rat in a bucket, as Carter tortures the bucket. And not only do I hate the protagonists, but I hate the villain as the drug kingpin, but everybody comes off very unlikable. That heel, I don't like that. Hell, I don't even like anybody in this movie whatsoever. Monica tells Carter men are going to kill Brian and Roman after they get Carter's money, as a couple of men search for Monica in Brian's boat as they have a crazy Mexican standoff as they meet their passengers for the next mission. As Carter shows up and introduces them to Brian and Roman, and they tell the cops about Carter's plan, and the main fed is acting like a ass because he doesn't care whether Brian and Roman live or die, and they plan on splitting off all of the cars with the same color, well, not the same colors, but different cars, and the same car hoods at Tej's garage, which is a genius plan, but it's pretty damn cliche. The next day comes, and Brian and Roman have their passengers get in their cars after getting to the trailer park to grab Carter's money. And remember the guy that's tortured with the rat in the bucket by Carter? Well, he betrays Carter by telling the cops to come in after the 4 guys, and they're being chased by the cops. And this is the most ridiculous chase I've ever seen, as it felt totally ludicrous. And I'm not talking about the actor or a rapper, but the word ludicrous. As Brian takes the machine to stop the fast cars and throws it at the cops. And come on, there's no such thing as a machine stopping fast cars with pointy types of metal. It makes no frickin' sense to begin with. Just like this plot, it makes no frickin' sense. They get to Tej's garage, where the cops fall for the trap as millions of cars split up and they go to a different location. And the final action sequence is loud, as this is a lazy as Michael frickin' Bay's pile of crap. As they lose the cops, Brian and Roman go into muscle cars as Roman ejects his passenger, and I did like that trick. That was pretty cool, but Brian doesn't eject his passenger as the passenger takes him into a hiding spot. And as they arrive, Carter wonders where Roman is at and points the gun at Monica, telling her to escape with her on the boat. He's going to escape with her on the boat as they're about to kill Brian and Roman, distracting the other passenger. And they beat the crap out of him, and they go after Carter, and the car jumps on his boat. And Monica gets Carter's gun and points the gun at Carter as they save the day. And they give the cops 6 bags of money as Roman puts some in his pants as a getaway present for himself. And the climax is total Michael frickin' Bay pile of crap at its worst. As this may be so far the worst Fast and the Furious movie I've ever seen. We'll see when we get to the end of June when F9 comes out. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 2.6 out of 10. This movie is loud, ludicrous, and doesn't have a brain in its head. The action did annoy me like Michael freaking Bay's movies usually do, as this isn't John Singleton's best work. I hate everyone in this movie as they have no chemistry whatsoever, and as far as I'm concerned, this may be the worst Fast and the Furious movie I've ever seen. But I'll see how that goes when I get to F9 at the end of June. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and next time I will be back with the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. And until next time, let's race.